as a part of our series of interviews with women leaders around the world working to reduce gender inequality. I am very excited to introduce you today to Jacqueline Chishima-Kalabo, Executive Director of iSanitize in Zambia. So will you please tell us about yourself and your journey and the work that you do?
My name is Jacqueline Chishima-Kalabo. I'm Executive Director for iSanitize here in Zambia. My journey into iSanitize, I think, started from the time I went to college for my degree in communication and journalism. And I grew a passion for people, writing stories that were more of a humanitarian nature. Through discussions with colleagues in the UN and also working in the rural setting of Zambia in a number of secondary schools, I noticed that most of the school learners had challenges with WASH, that's water, sanitation, and hygiene. And I started thinking on how, I could be part of a people that would change the status quo, and that would also be able to impact many more lives beyond the school learners, that's in their communities as well. And so in 2019, I founded iSanitize, which is a non-profit, non-governmental organization working in the WASH sector, but targeting mostly school learners and their underserviced communities. So young women are our focus as well. And we've impacted a number of beneficiaries, totaling about 3,095 to date from 2019.
How would you say that you developed your leadership, confidence, and voice, especially as a woman in the field?
Okay, I think firstly it was also by listening to and understanding the role that women play. In Africa and in Zambia, in the years that I was growing, not so many women were vocal. And I think coming from a background where I was allowed by my parents to speak, especially after attaining a certain age, I realized that if I use my voice more, it will not only benefit me, but it will benefit others. So in high school, then secondary school, I joined the debate club, where I actually did very well up to national level and was even a national champion in the country. And I think through the debating club, I was able to understand what it means to have a voice, to contribute to national debate, and to see that out of a voice comes action. And I think that built my confidence going forward from a tender age. During my career growth, I have learned to listen to other women. Over the years, I followed women like the late Winnie Mandela, who had a great voice in liberation struggle as a woman that stood out in times that were very difficult, and in times when obviously it was a very male-dominated continent then. I would also follow our very own women locally here that were able to voice out on issues and listen to them. And for some of them, I would probably even have personal conversations with them just to understand how did they, stand by themselves by using the voice and stand by others by using their voice. And then I think eventually I dropped my fear about, speaking out as a woman. And I realized that if we don't speak out, if we don't air our views, nobody's going to speak for us and nobody's going to speak for other women. So right now, I'm very confident and very comfortable using my voice constructively and ensuring that it's impactful in changing social lives and empowering others. Yeah.
What is the most pressing issue facing women and girls in your community today, whether that's WASH conditions or something else that you've seen?
Mostly it's menstrual hygiene management. I think we are seeing a huge, it's interesting that, centuries on, we still have to battle with menstrual poverty or period poverty. Most school learners, the female learners or the girls, are dropping out of school because they're frustrated. They don't have the menstrual tools to use in schools. The schools don't have the privacy that they require during that time of the month. Sometimes there's no water, running water in the school. So how can the girl really attend to her hygienic needs during that time of the month? So you'll find that the girls will tend to stay away from school. And eventually they're so frustrated, they drop out of school and find themselves as, young wives, early marriages, and sometimes even child marriages.
How has the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, over the last year affected your work, and how has your organization shifted to adapt to the needs of your community during this very different time?
Yes. Amazingly, iSanitize was founded in October 2019. The first cases of COVID were heard in the world in December of that same year. Very coincidental. So we had to shift our strategy immediately to ensure that we try and work within this new normal. The effects have been negative shocks to the organization in that we've not been able to access the sort of support and funding that we really require to reach out to more schools and more learners, because a lot of organizations were readjusting, how they're going to work from the usual to the unusual, eventually into the new normal. So we've been affected in that sense, and our impact had to be slowed down. So many times our team members had to work from home. And being a startup NGO, of course, we couldn't provide some of the tools that they needed to work with from home, tools such as internet bundles, perhaps laptops. It wasn't that easy. And then we had times when certain members of staff, members of the team had to come in for a few days. I think at the peak of the pandemic in the country, we totally sort of had to completely scale down, and our beneficiaries have suffered the effect as well, because we're not able to reach them with the information that they require. We're not able to also provide some of the menstrual tools that they need, because we normally lobby from partners, both public and private sector, to help us with sanitary pads and soap and all sorts of materials and tools that help a girl get by school and overcome any form of hygiene and period poverty. So the effect has been very negative. However, we didn't want to sit so much on the negative side of COVID. So we decided again to re-strategize with the team and found ways in which we could work. We embraced working virtually. And I think slowly we're picking up, and we said to ourselves, against all odds, we just need to rise and be able to start engaging with our beneficiaries again. It's a bit of a challenge to engage with school learners because most of our schools in Zambia do not have reliable internet facilities. So we can't even conduct virtual engagement. What works best is physical. And also we realize that sometimes because of language barriers, it's very important that you're actually on the ground and speak to the learners in our ethnic languages so that they receive the correct information. Yes, so overall, we've really been affected negatively, but we're trying as hard as possible and smartly as we can to find ways of staying in the storm, but not being affected by the storm. Thank you.
Is there a woman in your life or your community that has inspired you either throughout the last year, during the pandemic, or just throughout your life in general?
I'll be honest with you, the women have been many. From, in my family, I would mention my grandmother, my late grandmother, my mother's mom. I think I saw a woman that was hardworking, single-handedly, was able to run a business, single-handedly raise children, send children to school. My mother as well. In the last year in Zambia, I think we have seen a number of women that have really worked so hard during this pandemic. One of those women is Nambula Kachumi. Nambula Kachumi is the executive director for the Women Entrepreneurs Access Center in Zambia, widely supported by the US State Department. And I think that during the pandemic, her and her team still continued to conduct their activities and reach as many female, young women and older women entrepreneurs in Zambia that were requiring funding, and still, took them through the Dream Builders program where I sit as a mentor, and they were able to access finance for their business. So I've really been inspired by Nambula. The last 1 year, she's been amazing. I've also been inspired by Loani Chibesakunda, who is the executive director for City Group here in Zambia. I think she's come to the fore to head such a big bank, a corporate bank, and has inspired. I was part of a team that heard her story, and I was very inspired that she's worked hard. She's used her voice. She was never scared to sit on the table, even if there were men. Yes. So I think those two have really made my year last year.
Last question. What is one thing that gives you hope and the motivation to continue pursuing gender equality and better conditions for girls and women around you?
One thing is that once a girl or a woman is empowered, it's very clear, and evidence has shown world over, that more people are impacted. So for me, that keeps me going. I know that if we can impact that one girl who thought that's the end of her world because she started her periods and she wants to drop off school, but instead we held her hand, we helped her, we gave her the correct information, we showed her where to acquire the services from, materials and tools. We taught her how to be self-reliant at a tender age. It means that she will realize her dream, and definitely her dream will impact more people. I had an opportunity to realize my dream. My family, my community gave me that opportunity, and today I keep impacting more. So in order for us to attain gender equality, and then what makes me, going in that area, it's just the fact that the more women are impacted positively in their education, in their lives, in their sexuality, in them understanding that they play a cardinal role in every society that they're in, I think the more we move towards gender equality without more difficulty, and the more the message is spread quickly, and the more the impact in also bringing more women to the table. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for your inspiring words.